Hey everyone, welcome to our newest episode of Metal Mondays, where we're going to get down and dirty with the Equinix Metal. Today we're going to show you how to automate your server deployments using Terraform, Pulumi, and Ansible. We've got a couple of my good colleagues here, David Mackay and Jeremy Tanner, if y'all want to go on and join me. All right, and I think
Hello.
Mackay, you're going to kick us off with Terraform first, right?
No, but I will kick us off with Pulumi.
Oh, you're going to kick us off with Pulumi. Then Jeremy's going to come in with Terraform. All right.
Okay, let me share my screen. So we should now see my terminal. So I'm going to start from absolutely nothing and walk through the process of creating a new Pulumi project. There's a couple of choices of languages. I'll see how brave I'm feeling. And then we'll try and add some bare metal servers to the configuration, spin them up, and see what happens. So we're going to start with just running Pulumi new, which is like an interactive, CLI that tries to give you a hint about what you want to do. So I'm just going to jump down to show additional templates, and you'll see down the bottom when my cursor catches up, we have a couple of packet ones that are available. Now, the provider hasn't been renamed to Equinix Metal, but it is something that we're working with the Pulumi team to rectify. So you can see we could just go JavaScript, Python, or TypeScript. I quite like TypeScript. I like the really strong typing capabilities. I think it makes the code a lot cleaner. So I am going to go with that one today. Now, let's give that a slightly better name than the temp directory that I'm in. So we'll call this Metal Monday. And the default description is fine. We don't need dev. Let's go straight to production. Now, one thing is going to fail because I'm an idiot. So let's drop that out. And what I need to do is Pulumi login local. So Pulumi, if you're familiar with Terraform and other systems like this, they store their state file in a remote location. Pulumi was configured to store my state into a location which is currently blocked off by a firewall. Not a firewall, a VPN, and I'm not on the VPN. So it was timing out. So I'm just going to start again. And run through Pulumi new once more. Why is the directory not empty? There we go. So now I'm just using local state because I don't actually want to put it anywhere because I'm not going to persist this project. We'll call this Metal Monday again. Production. Production Metal. I've obviously done a demo similar to this before. Now, Pulumi is really cool, and we can store our secrets inside the current project, and they're encrypted with a key and a salt, which means that you can have everything that you need. You don't need to go to your CI server and configure environment variables to pass in secret information. You can store them in Git because they're secure. Now, I wouldn't recommend using the password protected approach that I've just used here. You can hook it up to KMS systems in the cloud, which is really nice, including Vault, which is probably the preferred option. So what does our Pulumi create? Let me pull over code, which went to the wrong window. That size, please. Cool. So let's have a look. By default, we get index.ts, which is just a TypeScript file, and it essentially assumes that you want to create a project by default. I'm going to reuse a project so that we can show how to inject arbitrary configuration into our Pulumi and then just spin up a device. So what I'm actually going to do is just remove this at first. So now we want to pass in some configuration. Now to do that, we can do Pulumi config set, and I can say project ID, and it's going to ask me for the value. Now over my other window here, I do have my project ID. Now this is not secret, so I'm going to paste it straight in as such. Now all that does is in our Pulumi environment YAML, store it here, available so that can be consumed within our TypeScript code. Now I do want to add a secret. I want to be able to add our Pulumi our packet off token. So now because this is secret, we add the -- secret flag, and I should have one of them over here. Copy. And now, because this is a secret, it has to know how to encrypt it. We just pass in our password. And if we take a look at that, you'll see that without knowing what the decode encryption secret is, that is just not available. We do have a comment, so I'm going to drop that on the screen. Siam says, "Hi, Tom." Thanks, Siam. I feel fantastic.
Hey, Siam.
Cheers, mate. Okay, so we've added one bit of configuration. We've passed in a project ID. We want to be able to consume that and spin up a new bare metal server. We have our auth token, which is encoded or encrypted with our secret that is specific to this environment. I can add new environments, new stacks, as Pulumi calls them, dev, staging, etc. They all get a different secret encryption store. All right, let's go back to, in fact, here's one of my pet peeves that is completely not important to this episode, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is that I don't like code just living in this arbitrary, crappy top-level directory. I like it neatly tucked away inside of a source directory. And we need to tell Pulumi that our main has moved. So we can just do that like that. Okay, what else do we need? Let's come back in here. So, Pulumi API for Equinix Metal. We want to define some sort of server. So I'm just going to call this an Nginx server. We have access to the Pulumi. And because this is real code, you know, whether you use TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, .NET, or the Go SDK, autocomplete and language server protocol is available for all of these languages. And it's just one of my favorite things about writing infrastructure as code this way, is that I can get autocomplete. Not on Pulumi though, 'cause that would be clever. So device. Now I need to give it a name, so I'm just going to replicate Nginx server, and then everything else that we need is passed into a key value pair, a map, dictionary, depending on what language you're using. Now the reason I choose TypeScript is because it has actually got all of the type information as part of this. So when I do autocomplete, he says as it fails miserably, we should be able to get nothing. Now, that's because I missed a step, I think. Let's see what it's complaining about. Hostname. Oh well, let's just keep going. So let's give this a hostname, Nginx server. And we have red bad stuff, so it's going to tell me it's not callable. Ah, that's why my autocomplete's not working. I have to instantiate the class. Okay, so now I should have autocomplete, and I do. So we can say facilities, where do we want to spin this up? Let's do AM6, if I could type. We're going to need to specify the plan. So I'm going to do a... So it's guessing some of them. These, this autocomplete list is not up to date with all of the plans that are available. So I'm just going to ignore and pick one that I know is available in this facility. And is there any other required things? I believe we need billing cycle of hourly. We'll need operating system. And I'm going to go with Ubuntu. Now I know 2004 is available, so I'm just going to take it. And this, so I think it's trying to tell me that it's not aware of these options, and I'm going to ignore it and see what happens. But the facility is complaining because it wants a list of facilities. And now it's telling me that that facility doesn't exist. But again, I think I know better, hopefully. Now, I'm not actually sure if Pulumi is going to tell me that it can't do that because these aren't up to date, but we're going to find out. Okay, what else do we need? Let's add some arbitrary user data. So we can just say echo hello. And it will need a shebang, otherwise the provisioning will fail. And we can, very similar to something in Terraform, if you're familiar with it, it has outputs. We can say that we wish to export something, and I want to export the Nginx IP address. And I can get that from Nginx server .access public IPv4, and that's now a variable that is available to me when I run Pulumi stack outputs. Does that all make sense to you both?
Yeah.
Okay, so export. I'm failing at TypeScript today. Const, that's better. Okay, so let's see if that runs. We can run a Pulumi preview. We give it our decryption code. And we'll see how much it's going to yell at me. Okay, so...
We got a little bit of feedback.
yeah, so it's just telling me that my string list is not assignable to an input facility list. Okay, so it is actually validating those types. So I'll need to reach out to the Pulumi people and see how we can improve that. So for now, let's use ones that it's happy with. Let's go with the C2 medium, and we'll just drop this down to 18. Whoa, that's angered the beast. Project ID. Okay, so now we have to consume our project. So just setting that makes it happy, but right now we have not actually got the ability to inject this. So how does that work in Pulumi? That is a great question if I can remember. So we can do Pulumi equals Pulumi config. Is it new? Yes. And then from here, we can say require, and we are going to require it. So when you're working with config in Pulumi, you have the option of saying get, which will allow you to set some sort of default value if it doesn't exist. By setting require, I'm saying this stack will not be able to spin up if this does not exist. And I can request project ID. And I'm not actually sure what happens if that fails. So let's save this. I didn't mean to close it. And run that again. Because I've never done that before. Yeah, missing required configuration. Awesome. That's what I've thought would happen. Definitely. So we fix that. We run Pulumi preview again. We give it our decryption password. And hopefully now it should tell us that, yeah, right, we want to create a new stack and we're going to deploy some sort of Nginx server. So that is what I'm expecting. That is what I'm comfortable with. So we can move on. And instead of preview, we jump straight into, and Pulumi is a Terraform, Pulumi up. The language just changes slightly between the two tools. They're very similar. So now we just get one more confirmation. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Let's say yes. And this is the boarding bit. This will take a minute or two. So if there are any questions, I'll take them from the team.
So does this update you on the process like it would if you were in the API or doing it from the UI?
Yes, there is feedback being delivered to Pulumi. It's not as we're not going to get that nice timeline view that we get from the Equinix Metal console. But I don't see any reason why that couldn't be relayed back. So Pulumi is actually working on events that are happening within the API. It could be requesting feedback on that, and it could display it here. You see where there's info here? It's already doing that to a certain degree. I've got it obviously kind of going off the screen, but we could run that without a pager and probably see it. So I think there's definitely potential to improve it. Yeah, but we just kind of need to wait until it says it's happy for the time being.
So now's the time you go make the coffee, look outside, that sort of thing.
Well, it's just one device. I'm hoping I don't need to go get some coffee. But why don't I open a new tab and pull up the console and see what happens? So the UI element that you're talking about is this little differ when it loads. My internet is obviously challenged today.
Which we covered in depth last week, right?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. So you can see you got a nice timeline of the events. Right now, we're just waiting for this device to reboot, nice. Which actually started, a moment ago. Once that comes back online, it will dial home and say, "Hey, I'm back online," and then we can consider this device provisioned and available. So we're not far away. From the Pulumi point of view, it doesn't know that we're ready yet, and that'll just be once this trickles through. But you can see already just from this UI, like the host name is what we asked it to be. We've got an IP address, which we'll confirm in a minute. We're in the region that we specified, the plan. Like, it's all very almost trivial to a certain degree, and especially having something like code autocomplete to help you do it, which is pretty useful.
And you can do a lot more with Pulumi, right? You can set up to do multiple servers. You can do, right?
Aha, that's an awesome point. Now, because this is just a programming language, right? There's absolutely no reason why I can't do a really awful imperative list, imperative for. Well, that's not what I wanted. Right, I'll just type it manually. There's no reason we can't do, hey, I equals 0, I is less than or equal to 6, and I plus plus, assuming I know how to define this stuff anymore. I don't think I've ever done this style of for loop in TypeScript before, so maybe there's no blah blah. Oh, it's a const. Well, that was silly of me. Okay, that's better. So, I could actually encapsulate this in a function, right? So let's just say that we know what an Nginx server looks like. And I could say const create Nginx server equals a function, like so. Now, this will work. Let's say create Nginx server. Only our export's not going to work now, but what we can do is just say, let's do, const is fine. Server equals, and then we could export it here. So export const Nginx IP, although now we're stuck in a weird situation where we've got multiples. So let's just do as a list. So Nginx IPs looks like this. And then we're just going to add to this push server. This is awful code. Please never work with this.
I did say it was. We were getting dirty. So this is you're living up to the promise that we made at the beginning.
I am. Okay, so I'll show you the stack output from the previous run before I run this again. But what you can see here is that we've encapsulated this logic into a function, which we could publish to npm. We could just store in another file. We could import it into this, right? We can really decouple and group the specific parts of the code that we need. Now, the challenge here is that this host name is not unique, so we could accept a parameter. So we can say, hey, take an I, which is an how do you do it? Ents you number. Yeah, that'll do. And here we can actually interpolate this. So we could say this is Nginx server I. And then this is now telling me, hey, you've got a problem here. This expects some parameter, and we can just pass in I. So now this is templated in a way that it's actually going to work. Okay.
So let's have Nginx server 1, 2, 3, 4 from that then, right?
Yeah, this is going to have Nginx 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just based on the way the loop is configured. Poorly configured. I will take credit or discredit for that. But our command did finish here, right? So if we scroll up, you can actually see we have our output, we have our IP address, we've seen all these API calls being made. I can run Pulumi stack output. I can just request the Nginx IP. And now that's a very scriptable output that I can use in other automation if I need. However, we did just make a whole bunch of modifications. Now, if I was smart, I would have shown that the way the graph is produced here, in fact, let's just do that. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so if I removed this first, right, and just remove this out of the loop. I'm going to bring the loop back, but I want to show something first. So while a lot of code has changed here, the output, the graph that is generated, hasn't. So assuming I'm not talking at my arse here, when I run Pulumi preview, it should tell us that nothing needs done. For that, right? We changed a whole lot of code, but we were refactoring, we were cleaning up that code. We haven't actually changed any of the output. We haven't requested new machines. We haven't changed their name. So in fact, let's put this back. And what I've actually realized as well while I'm kind of running through this horrible, horrible code is that we're actually going to end up with a conflict with this version too, right? Even if I add in the host name is going to be different, and I'm going to use this I variable, and what we never actually templated was the resource name itself. So if I try and run a preview now, it should hopefully fail, trying to create 6 devices with the same ID, or URN, as Pulumi calls it, unique resource thing. So we've got duplicate resource. So what we can do is just template this too, right? So Nginx server, and we just do the exact same, and we'll call this I. Now, things have definitely changed. So we run Pulumi preview, we enter our code, and you can see it's going to remove this old one because all the information changed. But now we're going to create Nginx server 0, 3, 1. I don't know why that's not in order. There's a lot of asynchronous code happening in the Pulumi provider here, so I guess that's to be expected. But that's just going to work. So now we can run Pulumi up, we let it go, and it does its thing. So it's going to shut down the old one. In fact, if we pull up our terminal here, it was already reloading before I hit refresh. But you can see, there we go. And because of it's trying to do this in a safe fashion, it's spinning up our new servers before killing our old servers. So that's why we're getting Nginx 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this one will go away when the rest are happy. Does that all make sense?
Yes, it was a bit. It's a very interesting way that we got there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is not code that you'd want to show your mother-in-law, but it's functional. We cleaned it up. We created a function we can reuse. We encapsulated logic. We are doing a lot of nice things here until this imperative style for loop with the crazy bad stuff. But that was just purely to prove a point. So Pulumi is a really awesome tool. Working with Equinix Metal is fantastic. We are working with the Pulumi team to get that provider renamed, and we will definitely be pushing to get that autocomplete, the facilities and all that upgraded with our more modern hardware. So we are looking into that. But that's it. So who am I handing over to? Who is next? I mean, unless you just want to wait and see the goodies spin up, but I don't think that is particularly necessary, right? Okay, so I guess we're also going to be taking a look at a very similar tool to Pulumi, Terraform. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think it will work much in the same way. Let's do a screen share here. Share screen. Don't show my tips. Look at application window. Share that one. All right.
Just pop that in.
Okay. So much in the same way, you're going to be working with configuration files. And the one in the Metal Monday directory here is called main.terraform. We'll see what's in there. And so we're going to start with naming the provider. We're going to use Packet because at Equinix Metal, we are the artist formerly known as Packet. We're working on changing those names over for, but for now, still Packet. Remember the old. There's plenty of ways that you can bring in your API key or your auth tokens. It's as it's named here. In this case, it's already baked into my environment, but you can put it in a separate Terraform configuration file, and there's a handful of ways to bring that in. This project ID is important because in Equinix Metal, resources need to belong to projects. And then we're going to do, much as we saw in the Pulumi version, set up some configuration for what we're trying to make. And so in this case, I'm going to look to bring up 5 devices. And so I have a count set to 5 here. The host name of the machines, I want to be Terraform Metal Monday. And then just a bit of formatting. This count index is going to count upwards and name the host names for each of my 5 machines. %02G here means I'd like a leading 0 on there. So there'll be 01, 02, 03. and so on. Describe the plan as the smallest you can find. I think we're going to be about 50 cents an hour at this point. Put them in Dallas-Fort Worth location, though that's an easy enough one to replace with any, and then it will drop those anywhere where it finds the machines first. We'll put Ubuntu on them, and the project ID will be the project ID that we've already defined. Throw some tags on there so they can be described. Red shirt, because those are the ones that can easily die. We're not worried about them. They'll land on the planet first and disappear to show the situation is serious. Test, Metal Monday, and Terraform. And so the first thing I'm going to want to do is initialize Terraform. That's Terraform init. And we have a problem. Latest version of hash config failed to install the provider. And so it looks like it wants me to upgrade to version 0.13 from 0.12. We'll do that. Say yes to continue. And now it has added the additional information onto the top of the file. And so what it was looking for was this, I wanted it to be called, have required versioning here and packet host / packet. And so that versions file will now run on top of the configuration file that we already had existing. If I say Terraform init again, it will go ahead and do it. It'll install the provider, which is how Terraform then talks to the Equinix Metal API. And it looks like we're good there. To take and we're going to run Terraform plan. That's going to describe what it's going to then ask the API to do. Terraform plan. And from there, it says 5 things to add. And so we'll scroll back up here and look. So device Monday will be created. We don't know the IP yet because it's not been assigned one. It'll be in Dallas-Fort Worth. It'll be called Terraform Metal Monday 00. All the same information. There'll be 01, 02, 03, and 04 because the list is 0 indexed. I think we can go ahead and give that a try and say apply. It'll look for confirmation. And then for those machines, it will go ahead, talk to the API, and attempt to make them. And I think at this point, I'm going to jump over to screen application window. Does that have to? So yeah, jump over to the dashboard where you can see each of those machines coming up, and it looks like their configurations being written, and then they'll step down through Magic Install System and the rest of the other 11 steps. And so, in lieu of sitting here and waiting for this we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait and look. I was going to pass to Tom, and then come back once they're up and show some of the ways that Terraform can then explore, or we can have a staring contest.
For time's sake here, we're not going to run the Ansible, but we are going to show you the Ansible playbooks are just simple YAML files. So I'm going to pull up and share my screen and show you two quick Ansible screens. Oh, let's switch away from that so I do not. There we go. So you can see we've got the playbook create here.
Shared your screen yet, Tom?
It's still not up.
There we go.
Okay. We've got the playbook. Can y'all see here? I'll make it a little bigger here. You can see we're creating an Ubuntu device as a local host. we're pulling my SSH key here and labeling it tutorial key, just giving it a simple label for this tutorial. The project ID I had created was DevRel demo. You give your Ansible server the name right here. Choose your Ubuntu server. Now, you can use the packet CLI to pull out the plan name. I'm doing a C3 medium.x86 here, and get the facility. I did DA3, which is closest to me. That's down in Dallas. The YAML to remove is just about as simple. We just put in the project ID, the name here that we did, which was Ansible server. Just put the same thing here. State absent. Run those Ansible playbooks, and you have your server up or down, whichever you're trying to do at the time.
Yeah,
perfect. Late breaking news. Those machines are up, all 5 of them.
Nice.
I think what's important here is that the APIs are, I mean, it's a single API, right? Equinix Metal has one API that all of these tools are consuming. So everything we do in Ansible, everything we do in Terraform, and everything we do in Pulumi, it's all pretty much the same. It's just giving you the option to use the tooling that your company, organization, your team is already comfortable with. And we're just trying to show you how to leverage that regardless. So there are many more ways you could do this too.
And you can find the documentation if you look at like the Ansible packet provider, or look up the Packet Go and Pulumi provider, or Terraform. We've got all of the documentation to help you get started here.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. How is your Terraform looking, Jeremy?
All set. So, ta-da! Yes.
Whoa.
So on the in
so
your
we're
console,
getting detailed feedback here on timing and everything, right?
Yeah. So what happens is every 10 seconds it will report back in. And so it'll say 10 seconds has elapsed, machine's not ready yet, 20 seconds, machine's not ready yet, 30 seconds, and so on. It looks like host number 2 came up after 2 minutes and 28 seconds, and then the last 4 of them were only another 20 seconds behind. And so once your Terraform plan has been applied, you can say Terraform show, and that will give you all of the information about those machines. So now they do have both public and private IPs. Those deployed to Dallas Fort Worth, the data center number 2, as we thought they were going to. They have the series of host names we were expecting, and all of the rest of the information. Earlier, I glossed over, but if you'd like to describe a SSH key, singular one that's associated with the project, you can put that in through configuration. If you don't put that in, if you don't give the machine an SSH key, you're still going to need to access it somehow. And so each individual on your team is going to have their own key. That's then going. If you don't upload a key, all of the keys from your team will then be put onto that machine, so anyone from the team can access it.
So when you're doing this with, for example, when you're putting in the different keys, can you tell who deployed which servers then?
Correct. That will be back in the inside the API. You're able to pull that out of. And so you can, when you say Terraform show, you can look at it that way. If you say show JSON, it will give you a big machine readable chunk that you can then parse with JQ or your favorite JSON parser. I often write a filter that if I bring up a series of machines, will then just give me the list of public IPs for those. So instead of looking down through the list, there'll be maybe 5 IPs there, and see if I can't pull that out. Format version values.
Nice. So I guess we'll.
Yeah, it'll pretty print that, and then we can do a more thorough walkthrough of JSON filtering later. But you get the idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, the goal with these sessions is to kind of walk people through from zero to everything, right? On bare metal. Like last week, we covered using the Equinix Metal API, using the Go tooling, and using the CLI. We're covering Ansible, Pulumi, and Terraform now. And then next week, we're going to take a look at how we can actually install and provision our software and our Docker containers or whatever it is that we need to get on that machine using a bunch of other tools as well. And we're just going to keep this content coming. Right, team?
We are.
Yes, absolutely. I suppose as we're getting closer to the end and closing out here, the reminder is to also, like the last part, terraform destroy. Put it right. Remember to put away your toys, and so you don't have billing surprises or things you're not expecting. Everything that you can bring up with a configuration is brought down the same way. When you say destroy, it says these are the machines that are going to be removed. Yes to go ahead with it, and they come down much faster than they go up. Destruction complete after 2 seconds, and so what was once there is no longer.
Excellent. I just remember to run Pulumi destroy too.
We can, if you want to give this a try for yourself and see how easy it is to do all of this on Equinix Metal, just go to equinixmetal.com, and when you're signing up, use the promo code all uppercase Metal Monday, one word, and you'll get $100 in credit to spin up and try out everything that we're showing you.
Metal Monday. Hold on.
There it is.
All right. Excellent. Hold on. Go away. There we go. All right. So we'll leave this open for a couple of minutes. If you do have any questions, if there's any content that you want to see coming out of this, out of these streams, it's the hard questions. The harder the better. Anything you want us to solve and show you how to do, we're happy to do that. So we'll give it a few minutes. Drop your questions. If there are none, we will say our goodbyes, and we will be back next week. We need some music or something for this bit, like waiting for the questions.
The drums.
Jeremy, what? It's trying to hit the drums for us.
The drums. I've just got the Halloween. One of the treats that we got is we got these. So we'll go with that. We'll go with that to take us out.
And just so you know, that sounds as awesome as you would think it would on this side. Thanks, Makai, for hosting us today.
All right. Well, no more questions. So we will be back next week. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
Until next time, happy Monday.